Good morning.
Hello. How we doing?
We are live.
Love it.
Day 2 of the Daily Huddle, and we're talking about agility today. But before we do that, a quick update of what in the news. But I left that hamburger on.
That's my In-N-Out burger. I thought you were just trying to bring it back from last week.
Change that. Dang it. I forgot to change that emoji. We've got the daily emoji on the screen there next to the Daily Huddle. And it's supposed to be whatever emoji I'm trying to throw Jared off with that day. And I screwed that up today. Oh, well.
I'll take a double every day.
just leave it there permanently.
Leave it there.
A friend of mine was watching the recording from yesterday and said, what's the hamburger there for? Like, I don't get the hamburger on this leadership huddle. Anyway. Welcome in. Every day our plan is to spend about 15 minutes in and out super quick on YouTube, on Facebook, on various platforms that we're beaming out to right now to talk about what's standing out to us as it pertains to leadership and to trying to achieve results, lead teams in the middle of all this disruption that we're going through. So, Jared, let's start off with our typical way. What headline? What's in the news that stood out to you?
Well, the NFL draft. Who didn't watch the crazy NFL draft last night?
How did they pull that off? Like,
I can't. In their homes, like Roger Goodell's like in his office announcing the trades. It was crazy.
Yeah, I have no idea how they managed all of those feeds coming in from everybody's house. And my son Tyler was saying he's 18 years old. He's like, Dad, how did they make sure the internet and wherever Roger Goodell is strong enough to not have the NFL draft collapse?
Well, I don't think I've ever watched an NFL draft, and I'm a football fan, but I watched last night because that was just, I mean, only for like 20 minutes, but it was historic, right? To be able to pull that off in this time frame. So that was totally interesting just to see how they could make that work.
Yeah, every day we're bringing on different colleagues, different people, and Brad Burton is on with us today. Brad, how are you?
Good morning, my friends.
Good morning. Good morning. I couldn't keep you off for much longer since we're talking sports and football. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I was gonna wear my robe onto the show today because apparently instead of a high-priced suit, that's what you wear for the draft in this.
Yeah,
that's funny.
That is funny, and to see everybody in their living room, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Brad, what headlines stood out to you if it wasn't the draft? Anything in the last 12 hours on your mind that you saw?
You know, I was thinking of the draft as well, but God, there's so many headlines. It's like, how do you pick one? You know, the restaurant space is one that's kind of catching my eye, and just how much people are sacrificing to get through some of the things that they're doing, some of the things that they're adjusting. And there was an article I saw the other day. I can't even remember where it was, but just how much the technological platforms for on-the-go ordering has increased since this whole thing has happened. Yeah. It's just phenomenal.
It is crazy how much that has transformed over the last, like just overnight, just in the last several weeks. So, and Brad works with some large restaurant chains in our firm, consulting them, and so that's probably part of what has you interested in. I saw a headline, you guys, for mine. I'll put it up on the screen. This is in the New York Times. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit to where you can even see it better. How Americans, let's see, there we go. How the virus COVID-19 has transformed spending. I thought this was super interesting. So you can see these categories. Here's back in January. Here is April. And you can see groceries, of course, off the charts, right? Week by week, it's just exploded. And where travel and shopping and transportation. And then in the article, they go on, and I thought this was really cool. On the left side of your screen is those bubbles are reductions in spending. You see lodging, cruises, thankfully. That's gone down. But fitness.
The last place you want to be right now is on a cruise.
All right. Movie theaters are way over there on the left. Charitable giving, I thought, was interesting that's down.
Yeah.
On mobile, I'm surprised to see less people spending on that. I don't know if that's probably new devices, right? As people pull their money out. And then to the right in the green, you see and the larger the bubble, the more money being spent on that. Look what's all the way over on the right.
Online groceries.
Yeah. And gaming, right?
Yes. Hey,
video
I
game.
bought a Nintendo Switch for my kids for the first time. I never had one before.
You did during this whole thing?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, Jared, that's what happens when you have all your kids at home because they close schools, man. You need to find something to give them out of your hair.
Jared's like, I don't want him hanging out with me. I'm buying a Nintendo Switch.
Get him in the other room on the Switch.
It's like buying a nanny. Hey, here, take this. Go do that. Let me work.
Totally.
Here's some more on groceries. I thought that was interesting what people are.
Well,
are
Russ,
listening.
just last night I sent you that text, right, of how much it costs to rent a car right now.
Oh my God. You have to share that with people.
My wife is going to take our daughter off to college. And so, they're not doing online classes, but we've already paid for the housing. So she's going to go live in her apartment. But she wanted to rent a car. So I got online, $15 a day for a full-size car. It hurts to rent a car right now. Crazy cheap.
And what is it? So I was showing that text. We were playing games as a family last night for the 44th night in a row. I'm not bitter about it, but I did win. You guys ever played that Century Spice game? Spice? Yeah, it's not mainstream, but it's actually pretty cool. But anyway, I dominated last night, which means nothing to any of you. But I'm showing them your text about wow, look, $15 a day for a rental car. It hurts. And my 10-year-old goes, what hurts? And then my other kids are like, how much is it normally? Like they did not.
It wasn't even
it was a disaster. Yeah, it did not go over well. And I'm like, forget it. Go to make your next move in the game. But anyway, so spending is interesting. We want to get into today this topic. We put this out that we were going to spend a few minutes on it. On agility. And Jared, you want to take a second and talk about why we thought agility would be a good topic today?
Yeah. When you look at what's happening with all of this, if you're not agile, if you're not able to move on the fly and adjust what's happening, what you're doing to deliver the results you need to in your business, you're in trouble today. These disruptions require agility. Now, we've talked in the previous weeks about the need to have clarity. If you don't have clarity first, it's really hard to get to agility. But if you don't move, that definition, if you don't learn fast and then be able to move fast with what you're learning, you're going to be stuck.
Yeah. Brad, what in all the calls with clients that you've been on over the last few weeks, the virtual meetings, what you've seen yourself, what strikes you about agility right now?
I think what strikes me is just how much the circumstances have forced the agility for a lot of clients. And what's interesting is the leaders are typically the ones that are being pretty agile and making some adjustments, but they're struggling to get their teams quickly to move as well because they're not used to it. In the past, they haven't had to be agile. And they've kind of moved slow, decision by committee type of organizations at times. And now it's like it's being forced. Leaders aren't getting the alignment as quickly. People aren't moving as fast. And so they're pulling their hair out going, you guys, we've got to move. And they can't get their folks to move because they're not used to it.
Brad, we're doing podcast interviews with leaders. We just talked to a senior executive at a major healthcare organization 2 days ago. And she was describing that exact scenario, that we need to get those silos broken down, open up communication, actually let people that are lower down in the org chart stand up and get things done and get leaders to get out of the way. And it's been amazing how fast they've been able to move from hundreds of telemedicine visits a week to thousands per day in the last 2 months, month and a half. And so it's just amazing when you do that, how fast you really can move.
Well, yeah, that interview, by the way, you guys, just real quick, is that Jared's talking about is in this podcast series called Leading During Uncertainty. You see it there on your screen. You could search whatever your favorite podcast app is for that. The interview that Jared was alluding to is going to be out there probably in the next couple of days, either today or early next week. Brad, you were going to say something. Sorry to cut you off.
Well, no, I was just going to say everybody wants to talk about organizations being agile. And in reality, we all know if you're going to get an organization to be agile, you need individuals to be agile. And what's interesting is watching leaders struggle getting individuals to shift just simply the way they think from maybe what they've been doing in the past to what they need to be doing going forward, because it's a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think of agility, I think everybody thinks they're agile. And everyone, we all, because we're willing to, right? We've got this willingness to think differently, to try different things. We think we do, but yet in organizations, so many companies are stuck. And I'm talking about whether it's an entrepreneurial company with just a few employees, or whether it's a major corporation with tens or hundreds of thousands of employees. We just aren't that efficient. That's one of the benefits of disruption, right? In that it demands efficiency and it demands innovation. So if you're somebody who champions the status quo, your value in the organization is diminishing. Your value with the customer is diminishing during a disruption. If you're somebody who is agile, not just thinks you are, but you're actually offering solutions, you're trying different things, you're coming up with ways that the business can adapt because demand has shifted, and so you're seeing solutions. If you're someone who champions that in an organization or in a marketplace, your value is increasing dramatically. And I think that leaders, owners of companies, need to shift who's in the spotlight and who's getting attention and who's being put out front inside a company based on agility, who's demonstrating this ability to be able to learn fast and move fast. And so I want to advance a little bit through a few of these slides. We've talked about, please go ahead.
What you just said. The reason why leaders lean on those people is because they've got to get it done. So they lean on the people who are going to do it.
Yeah. But if you don't put more of a spotlight on them or give them the microphone right now, you're not really going to be able to increase the speed of your organization. You're having what's that?
They might stop.
Yeah, that's right. And so we in our series of free live onlines, which are longer than what we're doing in these little daily huddles, you can register for those on Zoom. Just go to partnersandleadership.com and you'll see the registration link. We do them every Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, where we dive deeper into these topics. What we're covering today, this agility engine we're talking about, is something that we went through. Gosh, when was that, Jared? Probably two or 3 weeks ago.
A year ago.
Yeah, it feels like it. So this idea of learn fast, move fast, we frame this up using a model that we've been teaching for a long time called the Steps to Accountability model. Accountability really is to see it, own it, solve it, and do it. There on the left side of your screen, you see the learn fast, seeing it and owning it. And then on the right side, moving fast, which is offering solutions, solve it, and then figuring out what you need to go execute on, which is the do it step. So, Brad, speak for a second about this step, see it, and the question, and as it relates to agility.
Yeah, this may be the hardest thing for most people to get, is this idea of what's the reality I do need to acknowledge. Am I getting the results? What are the circumstances that I'm facing, and how do I personally need to adjust? And if you can't see it, you're not going to be able to own it, solve it, and do it. I mean, that's what we talk about. So I think what I'm seeing is leaders in a lot of organizations acknowledging things are changed, that the world's never going to go back to what it was in some way, shape, or form based on what's taken place. And yet we have too many people out there saying, let's just wait for COVID to end. Let's just wait for the social distancing restrictions to end, and we'll go back to the way things were. And it's just not the case. We have to acknowledge that reality.
Yeah, it's head in the sand, right, Brad? You got to be able to look at this and say, I can't just ignore what's happening. Acknowledging the reality is actually putting what's in your control back in your control. Focusing on what I can control happens when you can acknowledge the reality of the situation and then choose where you're going to put your attention.
That's right.
Yeah, when I think about reality that we need to acknowledge, I go to two things. One, resources that are available internally. Yep. Because in a lot of organizations that's changed, whether that's due to disruptions in the supply chain or whether that's due to we had to furlough folks, right, or we aren't working as many hours, whatever it might be. So reality I need to acknowledge is what's available to me. The second part is what does the customer need and how has that shifted in the last few weeks? Let's go to the next step. Jared, how am I involved? Talk about this for a second.
Ownership's all about involvement. There's two levers with ownership that we see that drive this. It's either agreement or involvement. And the problem is most people will see their agreement. I agree that we have to do X, Y, or Z, but they're not involved. They're either exempt or excused from having to play a role in it or whatever the case may be, but they're not involved. So whether you agree or not is actually less important. It's whether you're actually involved that truly tells someone you're owning it. Think about it as leaders. I'm happy if you tell me you agree, that's great. But if you're not getting involved in helping me accomplish what I need to accomplish, then I'm not very excited about your agreement anymore. I need agreement and involvement for true ownership to happen.
Brad, take us through the next one. Solve it.
Yeah, solve it. It's all about what else can I do? And the key word there is else. You know, we're not talking about more. Everybody's doing a ton right now, but that doesn't necessarily lead to the results. And so it's getting people to ask, what else can I do? And that's easy when you're in the first couple of weeks of a crisis or you're in the first couple of weeks of a new project. But when you start getting out there and people start getting frustrated, you've gone months or weeks with no progress, and you have to still keep asking yourself, what else can I do? That's a little harder to do. But when you fail to ask, what else can I do? You're going to get stuck in the norm of what you've always done. And that's
Brad, notice it's not what more can I do? It's what else can I do? It's not putting more stuff on your already full plate. It's what else. You need to stop doing certain things sometimes.
Yep. Right. The last step in this agility engine and last step above the line, as we refer to when it comes to accountability or agility, is this question: what needs to happen by when? This is all about execution, right? After you've acknowledged reality at the see it step, own it. You've gotten involved in offering solutions right now. You're offering up ideas of how we need to innovate as a company to address the shift or surge in demand we've seen. Solve it. I'm offering solutions. I'm asking, what else can I do? And then the final step is execution. We got to go do things. We've got to move quick. And so the do it question is, who needs to do what by when? So we're up against the clock, 15 minutes. That's agility in like a 5-minute overview.
There's nothing more to say about agility.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you might write a 400-page book, or you could take 5 minutes. I mean, really, either one could work. But I do want to wrap up as we wrap up the second edition of our Daily Huddle. Brad, since we started by talking about the NFL draft, what players stood out to you?
Oh man, that's a good question. You know, I don't know if there was one that stood out to me. I was surprised, even though I knew the rumors, I was still surprised that Miami went with Tua. With all the injuries and everything else, I mean, they're an organization that's been in need for something for a while, and that one surprised me. But good for him, and best of luck to him.
I love Jordan Love going to the Green Bay Packers, man. Tell Aaron Rodgers, you better play better. he's nipping at your heels now.
Sending a message for sure. All right, that wraps up the Daily Huddle every weekday, 9 o'clock Pacific, noon Eastern. Just a quick leadership huddle around the globe, live on Facebook, live on YouTube, and soon to be live on LinkedIn as well. Have a great day, you guys.
Thanks, Russ.
Take care. Bye.